Hello and welcome to Rachel's Family Table. I'm Rachel, and today we're starting off this week of dinners with a good old meatloaf. It's a family favorite, it's easy to make, and we just decided that we wanted to get another meatloaf made before the weather takes a turn for hot, and we won't be able to use our oven much longer with the summer and spring weather coming on pretty soon, hopefully. I mean, right now it is really cold and snowy, but I hear that it's supposed to start warming up after this weekend, so we're gonna get a meatloaf made. And to get started, I am adding some ground beef and some regular old breakfast sausage into the pan that I plan on baking this meatloaf in. I always just mix up my meatloaf in the baking dish that I plan to cook it in, and it always turns out just fine. I'm using some Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, some milk, some Worcestershire sauce, some garlic powder, and just some salt and pepper. Then I'm gonna mix it all together with my hands and then smooth it out. I decided that I wanted some chopped up onions in my meatloaf this time. I don't always do this, but on this day I was feeling the onions, so onions it is. And so I just pat this all out into the bottom of my pan and then pop it in the oven on 400 for about an hour. This is a big meatloaf, so it's gonna take some time. To go with our meatloaf dinner, I decided that I wanted to make a peach cobbler, and somebody told me that if you use a cup of sugar, a cup of flour, and a cup of milk, that you can make a cobbler with that. Well, they were wrong. Mine turned out like glue. Okay, maybe I didn't hear or didn't remember the ingredients measurements right. I don't know. I also used a couple of cans of peach pie filling, which is not how I normally make this, so it didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. It was still okay, just not my favorite recipe, and I don't think I would make it this way again. I normally use canned peaches and add brown sugar and lots of good tasting stuff to it and thicken it up like that. To go with our meatloaf, I'm just going to make some mashed potatoes, and I was also meal prepping some potato salad for another day, so I just took some of those potatoes out. I warmed up my milk and my butter and then put my strained, drained, whatever, diced potatoes back into the pan. I then put the mushroom soup on top of our meatloaf. This is the only way that my husband likes meatloaf, so this is how I make it. And that went back into the oven just to cook that soup and, you know, do its thing. I finished up the mashed potatoes by blending them with my hand mixer until there was an adequate amount of lumps still left in the pan. I added some salt and pepper to them also, and dinner is done. And here is my plate, and of course it's all about the mashed potatoes and gravy, right? So here's the cobbler, and like I said, it was all right, but I would do it my way next time. Moving on, we had barbecue bacon wrapped chicken breast. So to get started, I just cut the chicken breast in half so that they would be thinner and I could cook them up quicker in my cast iron skillet. So I just worked on getting some of the yucky, fatty pieces trimmed off of my chicken breasts, and I will speed through this as it's kind of boring to watch somebody cut up meat, I think. So you get the picture here. We're just going to work on getting our chicken breast all cut up. And I'm not using all of this chicken for this one meal, but I figured why not just do the whole package. And then in my big cast iron skillet, I'm getting some oil heated up, and then on my little cooking sheet, I have my fingerling potatoes, and I just put some oil down, a little more oil on top, and then I'm seasoning them with some beer can chicken seasoning, which is what I'm using on my chicken. And so I figure why not, it'll all taste the same, and I really do like the way this seasoning tastes. It's not overly salty like some of these seasonings that you can buy are mostly salt, and this one actually has a good flavor without a whole lot of salt content. And then I am wrapping each chicken breast with some bacon. Of course, you can skip this and just throw it all right into the oven and just bake it, but we like our bacon to be crispy, so I am taking a few extra minutes to crisp up these chicken cutlets with the bacon on it in my skillet with some oil, and then I'm going to finish off the cooking process by popping that cast iron skillet into an oven, heated oven that is, and get it finished up that way. So we are going to be topping the chicken with cheese in the end. So I'm using my cheese grater here and just shredding up some sharp cheddar cheese. That sharp cheese and the barbecue sauce just have a really rich taste, and that's what we're going for with these chicken breasts. Chicken breasts can be very bland, but we're adding a lot of flavor with the bacon and the barbecue sauce and the sharp cheddar cheese. You could also top these with some onions or some bell peppers, but I just actually forgot about it, so we didn't have that on ours. It is what it is, and these were fine without all that, but if that's your preference, then go ahead and add those also before you stick them in the oven. So I am just playing whatever I'm playing, rotating chicken breasts here, I don't know, just getting each piece cooked up, and then there will be some shrinkage, and then all of the chicken does fit back into the pan together before it goes into the oven. I am going to chop off some of the ends off of the asparagus that we got in our Misfit Markets box. I did actually get the potatoes and the asparagus in our box this week. And since my bottle of barbecue sauce was so huge, I thought it would be easier just to dump some into a smaller bowl so that in the end I can just spread it on my chicken breast without having to lug around the big old bottle of barbecue. So I'm arranging my asparagus on the pan, and they're going back in the oven. And here you just see me just rearranging, making space in my oven, popping in that cast iron skillet. I did take off the silicone handle cover, and then this is what it looks like coming out of the oven. And that bacon is nice and cooked and not soggy and undercooked. We don't like it like that. So I just put the barbecue back on it, put it back in the oven so that the barbecue can cook with it. And then it's all nice and bubbly, and that sauce has run to the bottom and is thoroughly like soaked up into that chicken, which is what you want. And so I'm just going to throw on some cheese. I'm not going to overdo it with too much cheese because we're not really into that. That's just our preference, but add as much as you like, or whatever kind you like. And now I am just plating up my dinner plate with some of those red, purple, and yellow fingerling potatoes, which I really love because I'm a potato person, and some of the asparagus. Now, we cooked our asparagus till it was really, really limp. That's just the way we like it, and I know that other people like it to be a little crispy, so that's up to you how long you leave your asparagus in the oven. And that chicken was so good. Like, my husband is not a big fan of chicken breast, but he actually said a few curse words when he took his first couple of bites, which means that he really liked this dish a lot. It will actually be one that we make again and again, I'm sure. The next night was a Tuesday, which means I'm not home for dinner. It's my late night at work. And so I am just cooking up a really quick pasta and meat sauce dish all in one pot. I am using a pound of ground beef and a pound of Italian sausage. And so I'm just going to cook that and break it up into pieces until it's all the way cooked through. And then I'm going to drain it. And when I do get this meat drained, I'm going to set it aside on a piece of aluminum foil, which I roll up the sides so that the oil can't just run out onto my countertop. I had some onions in my fridge that were already chopped up. I do try to chop up extra onions whenever I am chopping onions. That way I have some for whenever I need them, like today. And so then I'm going to just remove all of that ground beef, like I said, and set it aside. And doing it this way, I don't need a drainer or a strainer, whatever you call it. So I did wipe out my pan a little bit, Added some water and brought it to a boil right in the same pan. I know, unheard of, right? But that's how I do things, I guess. So I cooked up my bow tie pasta, drained that, added the meat and onions back into the same pan and mixed it all together. And I'm just going to add my diced tomatoes. I'm only using about a half a can just because my husband has a problem with too many tomatoes and he gets a tummy ache. So I added some tomatoes and then I added some pasta sauce. Now I am going to add extra, so when you see this, it will look really saucy, but that's because I made this meal ahead of time so that they could reheat it when they came home from school and work. And I knew that the sauce would soak up into the noodles while it was sitting. I also took a container of this pasta to work with me, and I just added some sliced provolone on top and some grated Parmesan. I would be sticking this in the microwave at work, so it would be all nice and melty, and this was just a really quick go-to dinner. Well, this was Wednesday, and it was another work day, and also kind of a day that I feel a little bit in a slump because I do work an evening shift on Tuesday and then an earlier shift on Wednesday morning. So it's a little bit of a flip-flop, and I usually come home from work and I'm not really in quite the mood to cook a big elaborate meal. So I am just cutting up some chuck roast, I believe it is, and then I just am making some steak bites in a skillet, and I'm adding some red onion and some sliced up garlic, some of the steak and chop seasoning that I really like a lot. It does have a little hint of citrus, so I do enjoy that. I'm adding some frozen bell peppers. I cut these up one day and threw them into my freezer because they were starting to shrivel, and so I knew I would need them later on, but in order to save them, I just gave them a little bit of a pause by putting them into the freezer, and they worked out fine. I sliced up some mini bellas and put them in also at this time so that they could finish off the cooking process. I had a bag of rice in my fridge because I had made that on Sunday, and so it was perfect. It was leftover rice, and I decided to use that in this skillet meal that I was making, and that rice just soaked up all of the juice and the seasoning from that beef and peppers. And so I'm also going to throw in some of that leftover cheese, and so I guess this was just kind of a throw together dinner, but it ended up being so good. It was a nice little combination of veggie, meat, and rice all in one meal, and so pretty easy on a work night or school night, whatever you're doing in life. Thursday night, we just wanted a simple dinner, and we love burgers, and I don't know why, but I just have been wanting onions like every day of the week, so I decided it would be onion burgers. I am just adding a little bit of sausage that we had left over to my ground beef because I wanted to use it up, and it wasn't enough to really change up the flavor of the hamburgers, but it was enough to give it a little something different. I sliced my onions on the mandolin just to get them really thin. Obviously you can use a knife or whatever you want. I didn't put you through the torture of watching me chop up all my onions, but you get the picture. So all of the extra chunks and pieces that we didn't use on this night, I just put them in a Ziploc baggie to use later on in the week. I'm sure we will use them up. So I have some oil that I heated up in the pan. It's olive oil. And then I am just placing my onions down everywhere that I'm going to set a hamburger ball. And these little hamburgers will get flattened onto these onions so that they get pressed into the meat, but they're still able to get nice and caramelized. And I just thought that these would taste really good, and I wasn't wrong. They actually did. This may be my new way to make hamburgers when I want onion burgers. This is a good way if you're lazy like I am, or you like to take shortcuts like I do, to get everything cooked up in one pan. And once I got all of the hamburger patties all flattened down on these onion rings the way that I wanted them, then I just plopped one in the middle that had no onions, just because I know sometimes Cameron can be picky. And I just wanted to make sure that there was a burger with no onions in case he decided on this day that he didn't like onions. And I am seasoning these burgers with the steak and chop seasoning that I have used before. I guess sometimes when I get on something, I just carry it through and through and through to other recipes. So once my burgers were cooked on one side, I just gave them a flip and let them finish out on the other side. And then this is what the burgers look like when they are done. They were so juicy and delicious, and we actually like our burgers a little burnt, so perfect. I just made some shells and cheese to go on the side, and here I just toasted up the bun, and I'm putting my cheese on the bottom of my hot burger. I just wanted you guys to be able to see how the burgers turned out. I didn't want to cover it all up with cheese where you couldn't see how the onion looked all swirled into that hamburger. I'm having some mayo and some mustard. I have some cherry tomatoes and some avocado on the side. The last meal of the week was a thank God it's Friday type of thing. And I didn't feel like cooking whatsoever and decided it was another sandwich night. I mean, I know we just had burgers, but I actually had to cook those. So I decided that we would just kind of do a build your own hoagie type of dinner. So I picked up some buns, and Bill and I got to work getting them sliced up and getting them buttered. We just popped them in the oven, and then from there we just all built our own subs using some turkey that we picked up from the deli and some pepperoni, salami, some cheeses, tomato and lettuce, and then other condiments like pickles, relishes, peppers, and that kind of thing. So like I said, we're just going to toast these and then get them in the oven so that they are toasted and warm. We could have put them back in after we assembled them with the cheese, but that just seemed like too many steps. And with 4 people doing 4 different things and whatever in the house, we did actually have another son visit, so it was a good thing that we had so many extra buns. I am making mine. I chose this corner bread, and I'm doing some provolone cheese and some habanero cheese. I don't remember. It's habanero something. Anyway, so then I'm just putting on some turkey breast, and this is the mesquite flavored turkey breast from the deli. And then I'm just going to add some salami and a couple of pepperoni, and then just start layering my tomatoes and my lettuce. And I am going to also add some banana peppers. And I know everybody else did their own thing, and I can't remember what they did. I was more just focused on myself and getting dinner over with. And a sandwich night was just the perfect the perfect thing to have on a night when you don't want to cook. I had some leftover bacon, so we were very fortunate to have some bacon for our subs as well. To go with our dinner, I picked up some cheddar macaroni salad and some Mexican street corn salad from Walmart. I am just putting some sub sauce on my sub that I had left over from a day that I had bought a store-bought sub. It was like an Italian dressing. It was really good on this sandwich. And that is it for this week's dinner ideas and inspiration. Our granddaughter Joey was born on Wednesday, if anybody has been following. I thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate all your kind words and well wishes. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Bye for now.